know what happens behind the scenes, how these people are punished.
You have a bright future, you're not going to get convicted of rape.
How can we say that the justice system is just?
I'm Olivia Egmore, and me, along with my film crew, are on a mission to find out what universities are doing about student welfare in 2019 to support the victims of assault.
What do we want? Say streets! When do we want them?
Since 2018, there has been an increase in cases involving students being let down by their university, with names such as Cambridge, Warwick and Essex.
And what do we want? Say streets! When do we want them? Now!
Revolt Sexual Assault UK found that 62% of university graduates had experienced sexual violence while studying.
Say it again! No excuse for violence!
We have come along to the 2019 Reclaim the Night, a national march that strides towards improving the safety of women at night.
So today we march to demand our right to live without fear. We march to demand justice for victims. We march to give all women a voice. And we march to reclaim the streets.
So first of all, what is Reclaim the Night?
So Reclaim the Night is an opportunity for women or those who have women as part of their gender identity to march through a city or a town and basically reclaim the night. It started, I think, around back in the 1970s when basically women were told to stay inside in order to not be assaulted rather than telling people to not assault people. So those that identify as women decided to come together and reclaim that night and say that, you know, we shouldn't be told to stay inside, we should be told to, you know, we should tell people not to assault people, basically.
Women united will never be defeated!
It's really great to see so many people here, and like particularly in this time as well when we've got like the US president has openly talked about like harassing women and stuff. It's really powerful to send a message, I think.
So do you think Reclaim the Night and marches like this will ever stop because we have hit where it doesn't need to be discussed anymore?
I would love to think that we will get to a point where it will stop. If we ever do get to a point where it will stop, I don't think it'll be in the near future. I still think it's a goal that we need to massively strive towards, because obviously, especially on like university campuses, it's such like a kind of topical thing on university campuses that sexual assault and sexual violence still happens to everyone. So,
do you think it's risen in male abuse and assault, or do you think it's more just something that we talk about today?
Well, I mean, this is a really interesting issue, I think, and part of the nature of patriarchy is that men also feel like they can't come forward and they can't talk because of the pressures of being male, meaning you can't share emotions and all of these other things. So this kind of event is furthering equality for all genders as much as it is for anyone, and that's why I think it's really helpful. This event is open to non-binary people as well, and we have a block for allies down the road as well. So.
The snag is we seem to have to keep reinventing things. You know, there was a powerful women's liberation movement that I was part of in the 60s, 70s. And we came on marches like this and we fought these battles, but somehow we have to keep on fighting. We have to keep getting our energy back again.
So why are you here today? Because although I don't drink anymore, I know like my friends that go out and drink, and they always have stories about having issues with male violence and male sexual violence on nights out. I work with kids and I hear a lot of it from them as well. I'm just a bit sick of it, to be honest.
Are you students for a
Yeah, we're both students. Yeah, both students, yeah.
Do you think it's bigger in the student community at the moment?
Yeah, I think some people have just accepted that it's a thing, and if they're a bit older and that's just something that happens in life, I think students are a bit more motivated.
There's definitely more awareness of it on campuses now, and I think you go to a university campus and you think that around young people you should feel more safe because it's people of your own age, but there's definitely more awareness now that it happens there as well and it can happen anywhere.
I think it's really difficult. I think a lot of the justice system needs to be changed, and this is certainly a big issue that does need to be tackled.
name's Ollie.
So why are you here?
I'm here just to support like all women everywhere, because everyone should be able to go out on any night out and be able to enjoy it without feeling threatened or unsafe.
So do you think it's important for men and other people to like join and to unite for women?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's important for everybody to stand up in the face of victim shaming and say no. So yeah.
Thank you very much.
I was taken aback by the vitality of the march. But I was curious to speak to a university student who could share with me their story following an assault and struggle to seek justice through their university. So you're going to talk to us about a student-on-student assault. She is 21. Hello. Hi. You alright?
Yeah, good. Do you want to come in?
Yeah. Right. Should we just go in with it? Yeah?
Yeah.
So talk us through what happened to you.
Okay, so I went on holiday first year of uni with a friend. We stayed in an apartment and it was like her apartment, so it was just me and her there. We had drinks, we went back to the apartment and we'd been sharing the big double bed rather than going in the twin bedroom. And when we got back, we were sharing the bed. When I woke up, she was touching me. She was like inside me. I was still a little bit drunk, wasn't fully on to, you know when it like takes a minute for you to realise where you are. Yeah. And
this person you knew you were friends with?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was someone you trusted?
I completely trusted her. I tried to move away. Like once I realised, once I clicked what had happened, I was just like, this isn't good. Tried to move, like, and I knew if I woke up and was like, what are you doing? In my head, I was like, if she'll do this, she might murder me. Genuinely, like, that was genuinely the fear.
Did you feel let down by the uni?
A little bit, yeah. Because, like I put my trust in them to get results, and it was very difficult to actually get a response out of them. Like, there was no updates on what was going on. There was no, like, reaching out. Like, they said that they'd put me in for counselling. I have graduated and I didn't see a counsellor. This happened at the end of first year. And I pushed for it. I went to student services and I pushed. And it just, no.
Yeah.
And when I said, like, she got kicked out, but she left. She left before. So on her record, it doesn't say that she got kicked out. It says that she left because of mental health issues.
Do you think there should be a bit more, even if, let's say, you didn't get arrested or anything, do you think there should be something that has a warning next to someone's name?
Yeah, that was all I wanted.
It was like when you went to the uni, did they direct you anywhere? Did they direct you to Women's Aid or anywhere?
They told me to go to student services, and I went to student services, and student services put me on a waiting list. And then I didn't hear anything.
So do you think students get forgotten as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, I've known people who have tried to kill themselves, who have had mental breakdowns, who have had so much like stuff happen at uni, and they're like, too bad. That shouldn't be the response. Universities have got a duty of care. They hound us enough as soon as we leave for the money back. They take enough money off us, but do they actually give us anything? Are they actually there for us when we need them, when we're studying with them? They don't care as long as they're getting the grades and the feedback and they've got their poster children. 9 times out of 10, the majority of university students are depressed or anxious, have had some form of trauma, and that needs to be addressed. Universities need to take more accountability for the environment that they create.
Okay, so this is from The Guardian in 2018. It reveals that less than a third of young men prosecuted for rape are convicted. And these are figures that show, it's our age range, so it's figures shown between 18 and 24. So it's always just about over 27%. Only 27% of people who are 18 to 24 who have raped someone gets convicted. And that's only the things that are getting addressed. So like we've just found out that 90% of students, 90% of female students who are getting raped are not reporting it. So out of that 10% in the UK of that age group, only 31% of them are being convicted and actually getting justice. To understand the legal side further, we met with Helen Baker, a professor in criminology. She first helped with talking us through the definition of assault.
So an assault is when you put someone in fear of inflicting violence on them. So you could do that without even, you do that without even touching someone, by your words or by your actions. A battery is when you actually inflict any form of physical violence on another person that's unwanted. So for example, if I just kind of pressed my finger onto your arm, that would be a battery, if that was unwanted. Sexual assault are dealt with in a different Act of Parliament, and that's the Sexual Offences Act 2003. And the main two kind of offences you'd find in there are, of course, rape under Section 1. And that's if you intentionally penetrate another person without their consent. And lots of people, academic and otherwise, have criticised that because it fairly much focuses on kind of penetration. Yeah. And the law as it stands today means that because of that focus on penetration, and the focus on the male body, as it were, it's not legally possible for a woman to rape another woman. It's not actually legally possible for that to happen. It's legally possible for a man to rape another man and for a man to rape a woman. So a lot of people might say that that's kind of quite discriminatory, because in practice, it may well be possible, indeed be possible for a woman to rape another woman. There's also sexual assault, which is seen to be a lot less serious, because rape, you could end up with anything from if convicted, a few years to life imprisonment. Yeah. It's usually a few years, and a lot of people think that's very unfair, that people who are convicted rapists don't really get very severe sentences. And the other one is sexual assault under Section 3. So that's when you touch someone sexually and the person doesn't agree or consent to that. And whether it's sexual or not is entirely whether you, as the alleged victim, thought it was sexual.
So loud.
I was going to say.
You want to move in there.
Okay. Where do you want us to go, Meg?
Maybe the table in the corner there.
Okay.
We need to make our room downstairs like this. We do know from academic evidence that a process of attrition goes on in relation to rape cases in particular. And this means that from all the cases that are reported to the police, and the cases that are actually reported to the police are just the tip of the iceberg in terms of how many women suffer rape, how many women and men. It is primarily women, however, how many people suffer that. So only about 5% of cases that are reported to the police end up in a successful conviction. 5%. And I guess the worrying thing is, at the moment, you know, we know that 10 women a week die because of domestic abuse. And I think that's really chilling, and it says everything.
Is that in the world or just in the UK?
Yeah, just in the UK.
So in the UK, 10 women?
Yeah.
That's really scary.
Yeah, it is.
And
it just tells you how much male violence is tolerated in society, despite lip service. You know, I think lip service is given, you know, by laws saying these things aren't allowed. But if no one's ever brought to account, or if prosecutions don't end up anywhere with convictions, how can we say that the justice system is just?
Some students from York St John University reached out to us, recommending that we should talk to Gemma Linfoot-King and Natalie Norrett to discuss the All About Respect campaign held at the university. It was clear from their online presence the campaign wanted to address the importance of understanding the different areas of assault and where students should go if they need support. Gemma and Natalie first explained to us how the research into the project came around.
At that time, the NUS2 surveys, a couple of newspaper articles, there was a lot of high-profile media stories. We didn't really know what was going on in an institution like this. We had a gut feeling from what wellbeing staff were telling us from academics' experiences of students coming to them for support, but we didn't know how prevalent this issue was.
So after we conducted the focus groups and survey, we then worked with students to go from a project called Building Healthy Relationships to what we've got now, which is a really strong branded All About Respect project. We have some leaflets that are smaller than this, and on the back of them they'll say what domestic abuse is, what sexual violence is. Students told us they didn't really understand what those were, those terminology. Students didn't always know where to go externally for help. So another strong theme through the work we've done is to promote other organisations like IDAS and Survive, the Sexual Assault Referral Centre, and get them on campus whenever we can.
This is something that can affect every student potentially at university, so we went at times for a gender neutral theme in some of the training. The survey tried to be as gender neutral in its language as possible, but bearing in mind the statistics where we see that, you know, women as a proportion tend to be targeted more than males, and males as a proportion tend to be, you know, more likely to be perpetrators. But we wanted to make sure that we didn't exclude anyone, and that was a really important undercurrent, if you like, to the project. I see no harm in a campaign day. I think that's an amazing resource to put together, but it is about who's there who can lead a project like that. You know, does it come from the Students' Union? Does it come from wellbeing? It becomes quite difficult to navigate, but I think as a general principle, the bare basics should be a web page. And interesting, you talking about that, there was an article in The Guardian, was it within the last month? Did we retweet it? I can't remember now, but it was something like, you know, if you're going on open days, ask a university what they do to tackle sexual violence. And it was a really interesting article that actually, I think, will call some universities out. In a workplace, you have a duty of care. In a school, you have a duty of care. In a university, you have this sort of grey area about what is our responsibility, what isn't our responsibility.
I was keen to explore the responsibilities of universities and their students on nights out, so I have come to Manchester, one of the UK's top nightlife cities.
Whereabouts are you? Okay, just stay safe, alright? So on nights out, do you feel safe, or have you ever experienced feeling unsafe?
I mean, not very many of us have been on a night out in Manchester specifically, but if you're talking about nights out in general, I'd say, yeah, I feel pretty safe.
In Worcester we have the Safe Bus that the students can get back to the campus, and as far as I'm aware, most students are aware of that, so yeah.
I mean, in Brighton they have the street pastors that give you like the water and the flip-flops if you're walking around barefoot, and like somewhere to sit if you need to sober up.
So you do feel quite safe then?
I mean, I didn't really feel like I needed it, but at Brighton I didn't feel like the SU was very present.
Yeah, we've had that a lot about
Yeah.
Do you think universities should do more to help 18 to like 22-year-olds about sexual assault, physical assault, anything under that umbrella?
Yeah, I think we all have a responsibility, because the boundaries have all changed. They're exposed to social media, they're exposed to pornography. I think it's really important that the people that are responsible can start to give them conversations and a narrative around what is different and what is acceptable and what counts as abuse, because they don't understand it, because they think they've got to accept it. We've all been there, we've all been tipsy, we've all been smashed, we've all been slaughtered, and kind of made decisions that the next day we look back on. That doesn't mean that that was inappropriate, But there are other things about how somebody can hold you to account or make you feel like you should do something you don't want to do.
Billy.
So, what university do you all go to?
Uni of course. Uni of, the only place to be.
Okay. Have universities put stuff in place so you know if anything happens?
Have they fuck? No way. No way. What was the
So,
question?
like, on nights out, do you have the universities put anything in place so you know if anything happens, what to do?
No. This is just an extension of university mental health services, which are garbage. Absolute garbage.
So
The best protocol is your kind of local support system, your friends that are around you. The uni offer nothing, let's have it right. There is that. I think we're obviously white heterosexual males. We're operating at a high level of privilege in these lovely human beings that are next to us.
At least on speak for themselves.
Sure. I've never found myself in a position whereby I need to feel like I need to contact Nightline, as they may call it. But what is there really? You've got Manchester police, who are at best incompetent.
I feel like people need to be out at clubs because personally, I was in a club and a guy tried to hit on me and I said no, and he actually punched me for saying no.
So did you do anything?
Well, he then ran off, so I couldn't actually do anything about it. But I feel like there needs to be people around at clubs.
Do you think bouncers should step in more?
Definitely. Because bouncers actually seem to letting drunk girls more than drunk guys, which is a typical sad thing, but it's very true. Girls are like seen as sexual completely on a night out, whereas boys go for the night out, whereas girls are seen as just sexual objects.
If I had £1 for every time I'd seen a guy acting appropriately towards a girl, I'd be a rich man. Do you know what I mean? It's rough. I keep saying it's rough.
It is rough.
But it's society and we need change.
When we're talking to students on the streets, a lot of them are saying stuff like, yeah, the SU promote that they're there for us, that they're there to help, and there's stuff out there for you. But at the same time, it's like students don't feel like they're helping, they don't feel like they're heard, and actually the SUs, a lot of the people who run the SUs are doing it more for the CV and the popular vote, and are they actually there for students? And I think they should prove that more. If someone whacks a girl and it's on CCTV, they should be kicked out if it's student on student.
One thing that stuck in my head that kind of has come up at every uni we've talked to is zero tolerance. And some places it's zero tolerance, we have zero tolerance, and it's repeated again and again, and it's... when is it actually? Yeah.
After almost 10 years since their last report, the National Union of Students released a shocking report this year, revealing that 14% of students would experience either attempted rape or unwanted sexual intercourse during their time at university. In 2014, Cosmopolitan reported that 1 in 7 students had experienced a form of domestic violence, showing that women aged 16 to 24 are most at risk of abuse. Have you ever had many people feel let down because it happened at high school, sixth form, university? They felt like they've got no help.
Yeah, massively. I hear that time and time again, where if they have risked being vulnerable and going to someone, it's either shut down completely or minimised, or might have even been told they were lying, and that causes a lot of damage.
Like, not everyone feels like they can go to the police. Let's say you got raped, it's trying to find the evidence. Or even if you got physically assaulted, you might not come out straight away. And then even if you come out a month later and bruises are gone, it's not evidence anymore. So I think obviously not everyone goes to the police because of them factors. So when they then come to university or someone, they, it's like, they want to feel safe still.
They want to be supported, don't they?
Yeah, and I think because it's such a important environment that people are in.
Yeah, I think one of the things that gets to me is, as a mother to girls as well, and I do it as well, I'm teaching them already how to be safe when they go out. And it's like, who's teaching the boys how to treat women respectfully? Who's teaching them what consent is? Why is it the girls that have to stay safe and have to be even thinking about that as a possibility when they're going out on a night out?
especially people who have never had anything happen to them, might not realise how scary it is and how you do think like, well, pretty much the worst is happening to you at that moment. So of course your brain then does go to the next big thing, and death could be that. And I think I think that's one thing that I don't think everyone realises about assault.
Yeah, and I think psychoeducation around that for survivors of assault is really important as well, because there is a lot of blaming of themselves of that, like they're kicking themselves, why did I not fight back, or people are even asking them that and judging them for that in that sense. Your survival mode kicks in and it will deal with it in the way that it decides to deal with it. Some people do fight, some people freeze, there's a flop as well that humans do. And so that isn't your call to make. Your body just takes over, your brain takes over at that point.
I think just like directing a little bit towards universities and these students who are having stuff happen to them and then not basically getting justice and still having to be around their abuser. How does that like affect people?
So there's so many different reasons why people don't ask for help in the first place. Yeah, so it's either not knowing how to go about it, or feeling like they're to blame in some way, or feeling it's not serious enough to be reported. And then you've got, if you do report it, it feels a bit of a postcode lottery in terms of how that's going to be received by the university. I know that some people have talked about it being brushed under the carpet, and they then have to continue in their classes with this abuser. I think that's the worst case scenario. The effects, short term and long term, I think, of them being in that situation where they don't know when they're going to bump into their attacker, or they're having to share a class with them. That in itself can be really traumatising, and that delays their healing process.
So do you think universities do have a duty of care then?
Yeah, I think if they ignore the statistics that are being shown at the minute, that would be negligence to me, I would say, because that's just, it's not something you can ignore. Just education on what is classed as assault, and it feels like it's quite blurred at the minute. It feels like maybe boys and young men don't understand where the line is, and girls don't understand where the line is either, because they don't know whether it's serious enough at times to report or not. But just being really clear on what the boundaries are, what's okay, what consent is. It's really simple stuff that could be being taught, I would say, in possibly high school before university, where it might be too late.
An investigation by Channel 4 News revealed an alarming increase of violence and sexual crimes among university students. The number of allegations made in 2014 had increased by a sickening 963% in 2018. A report from 2017 found that Liverpool was the highest area of violence and sexual crimes. But this has changed, with new reports stating that the University of East Anglia is in the top spot, and Liverpool not even being named. I've come to Liverpool John Moores to speak with the SU President Angelica Cliff. I want to know what they do to help students and establish a standard for other universities striding forward.
Continuing work on combating sexual violence, celebrating diversity. This is interesting because it says student officer positions are full-time graduate level positions with a wage of 18.5k. I don't know. It's cool that it's transparent, isn't it? Like.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, are you from Michelle?
Yeah. Hello.
Hi, I'm Angelina.
How are you?
Hi.
So, what sort of campaigns is going on at the moment, include like anything to do with equality or obviously assault, anything like that?
Yeah.
Have you got anything going?
So over us, we've been doing quite a lot as a team. So Howie Sher, she was our Vice President of Community Engagement. She did a lot on sexual violence. That was one of her main priorities this year. Basically stopping it happening on campus, and also making sure that when it happens off campus, people feel comfortable enough to report it, as well as things happening in halls. A lot of stuff can happen in halls that people aren't aware of or aren't sure whether it was assault or not, and so she's been doing loads to raise awareness on that sort of stuff.
So what does that involve? Is it like leaflets? Is it posters? Is it talks?
So talks she's been doing, but it's mainly been working with so student advice and wellbeing. They're a department within the university that help look after students, and they have counsellors and all that sort of stuff. So she's been working with them, raising awareness, but also to change the policies within the university. So before, I don't think we had it in writing to have a zero tolerance against sexual violence policy. I think we had quite a broad one, but they worked together to get one that was very specifically about sexual violence that they've managed to do.
So what does that mean? Like, as in, is it if they get proven? If they... Okay, so does it have to be arrested by the police, or is it, like, I don't know, do you know? Or
Not fully sure, but it's more like the stance that the university takes. It has zero tolerance. And so a lot of things get reported, and then if they were to be reported and things were investigated, and if they found it to be true, the university would have absolutely no patience for that at all.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, it's the safety of all students.
Yeah.
And that's like, the university is very about keeping the students safe, and so this is a part of that. I know from my experience, and this wasn't to do with sexual violence, but I've sat on a few disciplinary panels for students, and there's been a few cases of racism that's occurred, and the university has just been like, gone. They've been so strong on that, which has been really, really good. Yeah.
Do you think do you think universities have a duty of care for students?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I think people pay so much to be here, and I think when they're here, most of the time people are quite young. It's their first time away from home, like you said. And so I think if universities, they're really taking care of these people who have come from so far away, they definitely have a duty of care to look after them. Yeah, but I think they do that in quite a few ways. I think a lot of it is pastoral support from tutors. I think a lot of the time there's loads of departments within the university that are there to help people, but people aren't aware of it. Most of the time, the first person that they'll talk to is the tutor. And so I think if they're properly trained, if they're able to deal with these issues, or at least know where to signpost people to, I think having tutors that actually care for the students and look after them is a massive part of it.
So how, if someone has anything happen to them, like sexual, domestic, physical, do you know, like, what are the protocols at this university?
Yeah, so we, the student union, so we run an advice service, but part of that advice, most of the advice is around academic issues, mostly. But we are a hate crime reporting service, so if anything to happen that was hate crime, they can come to us, we'll report it and do something about that. But most of the time, student advice and wellbeing is the place to go, because they have counsellors, they have people who are trained to deal with this sort of stuff, and so if students come to us with anything like that, normally we'll send them on to them so that we don't try and help but actually end up making things worse because we don't know what we're doing, so they're the ones to go to.
So this university is a city university, so is that like clusters, so like there's buildings around the city?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, and how many, do you know how big this uni is? Like student-wise? Or?
Student-wise, about 23,000, give or take, yeah.
Okay. So, actually, is this the biggest uni we've looked at then? Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
It's like
8,000.
Yeah.
And I think
Hope has about 8,000.
Yeah, we just get told like our uni had 17. Yeah. Okay, so
and then uni ob's like 26.
I think the fact that this is such a big uni and
Yeah.
you have so many protocols, like the fact that you like have been like, right, so because I was saying I understand that there's so many topics around, and I think the fact that when you go straight on your advice, there is something for all of it. And then I'm like, it's very easily to find you. It was very easy to find who to message, and obviously the fact that you said like someone had already seen the problem with the zero tolerance and made that is incredible. And I think every university should probably like take that now. Like zero tolerance is zero tolerance.
Yeah.
Not we're saying zero tolerance. Yeah, okay, RS, you want to say zero tolerance.
But what does that mean in practice?
In practice, yeah. Yeah, but thank you.
Great.
Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you for coming all this way.
Yeah. I was just going to say that I'm feeling a bit sick.
Yeah.
Because I think the fact that if I came to this university, what happened to me wouldn't have happened to me. Like, it's that bad that I actually feel like... And he's still at the same uni as me, and I think that's just, it just pissed me off. I just think the fact that it's really good that the people who are at this university can have that closure, and I never will. Yeah, I just never will have that closure, will I don't know, I just think I'm feeling a bit like I'm really happy that for a while I felt like I was the only person who was like screaming, being like, unis need to do more, and then the fact that universities are doing more, and it is going down to students being like, no, this needs to happen. And then the students become the president, students are becoming the women's officers, and they're making change themselves. So it is who you elect. I feel like this is slowly becoming a little SU, please vote for someone good. Like, look at policies. Because your university, you can change yours. It's all right saying zero tolerance, but I think the fact that they have now gone, no, this is a thing, this is zero tolerance. Because I don't know. Yeah, it's making me feel really sick. Because I just feel let down. Like, I've just had to go through like a year of the worst mental health ever. like I said, I'd make a joke that I ran away to America for 3 months because I couldn't deal with it, and then I was going to go to Canada to work in some snow ski resorts for 9 months just so I didn't have to be in the same year as this guy. And I had to sit in 3 out of 4 lectures with him. 3 out of 4 lectures with the guy who assaulted me.
And you had evidence.
And I had evidence.
If you want me to stop at any point, just say like.
Because I think me and Josh were talking the other day. I think I have realised I'm gonna have to say what happened to me. Like, not fully, but I think I'm gonna have to say there's a reason I'm making this. Like, I'm not just doing this because it's good content. I'm doing this because I'm passionate about it. Like, I have been where a lot of people have been, and what happened to me was so small. Like, it's so mild, and it was only 3 months of my life, and a very, very bad day. And other people, I needed to make this. I think this is how I'm getting closure. I'm making this documentary, so I know that other people will never be in my situation, and I will keep campaigning about that. Like, I'm saying this now, and every university should have zero tolerance, and every university should clearly state on their SU how you get help. That is bare minimum.